Hi, boys and girls, the last video, at least the last graphing video. All right, so in this one, we're going to graph my walk, the one that I did where I started at 8 meters, right? And then I returned to 0 meters. Look at my data table. 8 meters down to 0 meters. And then I did it slowly first. No, this is the wrong way. Sorry, y'all. I went from 8 meters to 0 meters, so that part's the same, but then I went fast and then slow. All right, so it should make a little different kind of curve on the distance time graph. Let's get going and make this graph. All right, so all we need to do is collect our data and turn our data into ordered pairs, coordinates. All right, 0 and 8. Then at the 7, it took me 1 second since I was going fast to get to the 7 meter card. And then it took me another second. So 2 seconds I was at the 6 meter card. And then it took only a half a second to get to the next one. So 2.5, right? And then at the 4 meter card, it took 3 seconds. At the 3 meter card, it took 4 seconds. At the 2 meter card, it took another 2 seconds, and then it took 3 seconds, and then it took all the way from 9 to 17, so that would be 8 seconds. Lord, did I slow down at the end. Okay. Right, did I do that math right? 7 from 9 plus 8 is 17. Yeah, okay, I did that right. All right, and now we're ready to graph it. All right. So remember that we always graph the x coordinate first and then the y coordinate. So we always crawl before we climb. The first point, because I started at the 8 meter card, is 0 time. So I'm not crawling over it all, and I'm just climbing up to the 8 meter card. Because I started at 0 time, but at the 8 meter card. All right, next at 1 second, we're going to crawl over to 1 and climb to 8. All right. Oh, sorry, climb to 7. Then it's 2, 6. So we'll crawl over to 2 and climb to 6. All right. And then I'm going to crawl over to 2.5 and climb to 5. So for some reason, I sped up a little more between those, or else Nick collected the time a little funky. All right. Then we're going to crawl over to 3 and climb up to 4. Right. And then we're going to crawl over to 6 and climb up to 2. Right, is that right? 3 and 4? Over to 3. And look, I really slowed down here. Crawl over to 6 and climb up to 2. And then I'm going to crawl over. What did I do wrong here? Let's see what I did wrong with my data. Oh, I wrote a 3, but it's supposed to be a 9. I knew that was wrong. All right, crawl over to 9 and climb up to 1. And then I'm going to crawl over to a 17. Oh, you were probably catching me when I was making all those dumb mistakes, right? I know you were. You're like, Miss Godfrey, you mess everything up. But I caught it now. So 17 seconds, and I'll let you see the data right here when I was trying to copy it over. 6, 9, 17. All right, 17 seconds. Crawl over to 17 and climb 0. So you can see our graph's a little wacky because it makes a little bit of a curve here and then another curve, but we'll just go with it because it can be really hard to get a distance time graph to come out just right. However, you can see that just as before, that I can figure out whether I'm increasing or decreasing my speed, right, by just circling the last third of the graph. And then thinking about what you know about the speed of diagonals. So remember, if I have a very steep diagonal, that's a fast speed. If I have a flatter diagonal, that's a slow speed. And if I have a completely flat line, that's a stop, a horizontal. And look, I almost, like here, it becomes horizontal. I was going so slow. Right? So it's very clear that even though this part's a little wacky, that I was coming to a stop and slowing way down. And when you look at the video, you saw that I was ridiculously like walking with the tiniest baby grandma steps ever. All right. So for this graph, my speed is decreasing. Decreasing speed. And you can tell it by looking at the back of the graph. Now, also, if I look over at the front of the graph, I can tell that it was fast, right? Even though it's a little bit curvy and wacky, you can still tell that the basic diagonal for that section of the curve is pretty fast. But since it's getting flatter, we're decreasing speed. And then let's look at the other decreasing speed graph, right? This one was fast and slow. The only difference is that we started at 0 meters in this graph, and it still starts off steep and then flattens out. But in this graph, we started at 8 meters. So it got steep and flattened out. Now, remember that when you see a graph like this, you have to always remember that this is not like something coming down a ramp or a hill. That's not what it means at all. Remember that the distance over time graph is just how far did you go and how long did you take to do that. When I was walking it, Nick was timing me. It took me this long. It took me 8 seconds to go 1 meter. So you know I was going really slow. 1 meter and then 8 seconds. That's crazy. You could do one step and be there in, I don't know, less than a half a second. All right, so I really was doing that on purpose to slow it down so you could see how it would really flatten out at the end. All right, so proud of you. And we're going to stop this video. And love you, mean it.